Hello everyone, welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. I seem to have a little bit of a bug with OBS right now, so we'll try our best. Looks like YouTube page is working now, but if I do cut out here, and of course yesterday I did the broiler chicken show, I actually put the two other links in the comment field. I don't know. It doesn't look like the team picked that up. Maybe they did. I'll put that on the blog post as well for site members. But as I said, a bit of computer problems here, but we'll see how it goes. You guys, we had a long presentation today. I had sort of discovered a little fun tool that helps me sort of see price levels in the market yesterday. In fact, actually, I sort of had my aha moment very early yesterday morning. And so as a result, I've been slightly distracted with this over the past couple days, but I'll try my best to get righted. Today I spent a lot of time with the site members just going over all the Bitcoin levels and stuff and Ethereum and Litecoin and stuff. Didn't even really talk too much about the stock market, although I got to tell you, the stock market treated me very, very well today, but we'll get to that in a bit, I suppose. I always like to start off your conversation here with you guys with sort of that bigger picture, what the heck's going on in the world. I'm very, very concerned for Euro. A little disappointed I don't have a short trade on, kind of bumming me out, but nonetheless. Very well-defined head and shoulders, and what's so funny is I remember we went to Top Step and we were chatting in their lounge. It was a holiday Monday, and we were talking about the head and shoulders breakdown on the Euro, and sure enough, talked lots about this in recent broadcasts with you guys. Very, very concerned for Europe going forward. And unfortunately, it might just break apart into good old war. Europe has a bad habit of that ending that way. But we'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. US dollar here, nice and strong. Rah, rah, rah. Look at it go. Strong like bull. Huge reversal candle off that trend line break. You might even call that railroad tracks in itself. We are coming up to a very long-standing gap on the upside that we've talked about at length, and what I think really sort of defines the top end of our range here. But I'll tell you, if the euro just falls out of bed here, it could be trouble in paradise. My hunches, for whatever it's worth, top end of the range, if we think about things like reload zones, my hunch is we're going to run into resistance up top here. Interesting how 78.6 is basically that gap level. Well, actually a little bit lower, but really, looking at the strength of price here in the short term, my hunch is we don't have any divergences working. And of course, we have no structure whatsoever, so it's not really like we can just go hit the level. I don't really like hitting levels blindly. I like to have some sort of, signs of internal weakness, divergence, and indicators, and then, a nice big fat M or something. So we'll see how this plays out here. And like I said, if the euro just falls right out of bed, you might see this just steamroll its way up into new highs. But we are coming up into a level where if we were going to see serious resistance on the US dollar index, we were going to see some sort of white knight come in, although the leader of the ECB does not fill me with a lot of confidence right now. The market loves to test new Fed bank, central bank governors, whatever the hell you want to call them. And this lawyer is not really displaying what I would consider steadfast leadership. And I think they're going to knock this thing right between the eyes. And that might wake her up to the point where, hey, all right, we're going to step in, we're going to defend this thing, and that's just the way it's going to be. So that's the kind of talk we need to hear. And he did that. And the moment that he did that, that's when the euro bottomed and stopped its, the pigs crisis. If anything, we should probably be watching, the focal point of this euro is probably going to be all around Greece. If I understand correctly, their credit, their papers, it's just falling apart again. Interest rates are skyrocketing. So if you want like a focal point to keep an eye on, that's probably a good place to start. I do completely understand that a huge portion of the market's attention is dominated by these coronavirus. I've repeatedly suggested, let's just inject a little bit of calm. We don't need to panic, although, I do see that what's going on in China, it's just chaos. I don't know how people can live in societies like that. It's quite shocking, no doubt about it. Some weird stuff is going on over there. I have no idea. All I can say is, let's just don't try and take trades, especially if you're going to react with your money. Take trades that are based off setups and reasonable sort of rational thinking, and try to avoid acting emotionally in the market. Stocks in general, because they pushed to new highs here recently, I don't see a top. But at the same time, too, is interesting when we did our January barometer study. That was back, where are we here? Back January barometer. You notice we had one leg down and then a second leg down, and that's kind of what I thought was going to happen into Ides of March. Of course, you never know what the reason is. So is this sort of like our one leg down and then one more leg down into Ides of March kind of thinking? That could very easily play out here. Certainly don't have any reason to be overtly bullish, and if anything, we could probably even start thinking about things like megaphones, the fact that this is a lower low here, which maybe paints, like a tag back down. I remember the big breakout from last fall was at like 310. They said there was a gap on the S&Ps, or maybe it was 295, somewhere in there. So if we probably go and look at like the ES, there it is. You see that cheeky little gap. If there was going to be some sort of key support I'd be watching for into Ides of March and that second sort of push lower, I like that 310 level in that gap fill. And notice, look at the bottom of the tail right there, right? So that's probably a pretty important level. Still don't have a bottom in energy, right? Interesting, if you're a student of the market, just to say, look, there's no bottom. I'm just going to wait. And notice how their W is trying to form, but it hasn't formed yet. Notice this W over here. Look how long it took to form, and then higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market, yada, yada, yada. Also, too, what I thought was really cool about this is I think this is a really good example of like following trend line breaks. So we have a rule, and this is what I'm worried about in Bitcoin. Everybody's focusing in on a big downtrend that's coming. And everybody's like, when they break this downtrend line, all hell's going to break loose. And I'm like, Well, of course, nobody listens to Brian. But the rule is we have to see market structure on the other side of this trend line before we can get bullish. So it's encouraging to see sort of counter trend rallies, a little discouraging to see how price rallied right back to this trend line and then failed underneath it. We could very easily in oil, we could actually walk our way down this trend line. I've seen that happen tons of time. But I do like the idea, buy or unlead at the middle of February, sell at the middle of May, made money 9 out of the past 10 years. I do like the idea of some sort of bottom coming in here through February. It's usually what happens, and then us going and playing the long side. But it's not here yet. There is nothing to do there. If anything, on good quality oil stocks, companies that are beating earnings expectations, I like buying against this weakness. But, oil itself, hate to say it, everybody. Let's call a spade a spade. What are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us? Uh-oh. So, and like I said, interesting tell how we broke through there, rallied back, and we failed on the other side. This might be a very long-term cyclical pivot here on crude. You just don't know. All I'm saying here is seasonally, this is usually when prices like to bottom. And, of course, the W now on the other side of the trend line is what I have to see. And then, I'll start be going, bull crude, bull crude. But it's just not here just yet. Hopping over to the risk-off assets, obviously catching a bid. More corona deaths being reported. We're up, brushing up against 1,000 now, if I understand correctly. If I understand correctly, too, this virus is different from SARS in that SARS, if you got it, the odds were you were going to die. This virus, it's more like a good chunk of people, from what I understand, that get it just simply have a flu and they get over it, and that's that. But there is a certain portion of people that when they get it, they're toast. So I understand that the cases are literally up into the, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and it probably will be so. And also, too, what I've heard is that the incubation period is something like 14 days. So you're really not going to know what the maximum cases are. What the sort of talking heads that I've heard say that probably not till sort of middle to the end of February are we really going to know when this thing sort of peaked, because there is sort of like a 14-day incubation period. So that's definitely got the market's attention. I told you I do like the idea of being short bonds, but I mean, let's call it spade a spade. I mean, if the whole goddamn world just tips over and we all go to hell in a handbasket, which I don't think is going to happen, but you never know. Then yeah, people are going to run out of stocks. Stocks will collapse and bonds will go through the roof. So, on balance, I can understand why this market's getting bid up. And remember I said on Friday, that could potentially be a 3-bar bullish fractal, which it is. And we had this significant pivot off of this trend line. I might make the argument if we lose this trend line, then that's probably a pivot back to the downside and the bull's done. But as long as it's holding in there, I wouldn't bet against this. I did buy a put. I've talked lots about this, how I completely fat-fingered the trade. But nonetheless, I have a put on from here. If we do roll over and it's still alive, I'll look like a genius for being patient and disciplined. If the market works its way up, I'll look like an idiot for not selling when I was supposed to. Blah, blah, blah. Hindsight's always 20/20. The good part about having this option, though, is it is just that. The maximum risk on the trade is the purchase price of the option. So either way, I didn't put a hell of a lot of money into the trade. I never do. And if it just goes to completely belly up, it's not really going to be that big of a deal to me. But I'm a little angry at myself that I didn't at least take partial profits. And that was half the problem in the trade, is that these damn options are so expensive that I couldn't buy multiples. I only bought one. Tisk. All right, moving on. Gold. And, of course, somebody on the YouTube page even was like, Brian, take it easy. Don't be so stressed yourself. It's just one trade. Move on. Next bust. And I'm like, you're right. But I don't like making rookie mistakes. Anyway. The gold market, I think we had sort of said recently, and I still sort of, especially as long as this coronavirus has the market's attention. And, of course, Brian... Has this incident been expounded, maybe encouraged a little bit to try and distract attention from other things? That's another conversation altogether. Long and short of it is it does have the market's attention. People are talking about it. People are paying attention to it. As long as that's the case, I can't see gold collapsing here because, gold is technically a fear asset. So, to all intents and purposes, still basically suggesting this is range bound. And I think on balance, when I look at the gold stocks, we're right up against top end of ranges. I could see Newmont have one more spike up here. There is that bot objective that we've talked about lots. I can't be a buyer up here. Reload zones alone. This is nosebleedy. And at some point, I think prices will come back down and fill in these gaps. It's not today, and there might be a leg higher, but I'm just simply spectating right now. I might watch how things like the gold index develop, and I've talked to you guys this recently. If I can get 3 solid higher lows and some consolidation, I might consider the long side, but for the time being, I'm still kind of just stuck in that gold's in a trading range. If it does break out and I miss the move, I'm not going to cry about it. The cool part about it is we got Julian on the site trading his little RSI model off of gold futures and stuff. I think he's having a lot of fun. Site members are having a lot of fun. So by all means, if you want to be in the market trading gold on a daily basis through the futures markets, maybe consider subscribing to Julian's newsletter. I probably talked way too much here today, but I'm having fun. What the hell? In fact, actually, I spent most of the day with the site people talking crypto, so that's why I'm making it up for you guys in the stock market. So, speaking of stock markets, ironically enough, actually, most of the market really isn't moving. There isn't a hell of a lot going on broader market. But there is one part of the market that's just having a field day. Woohoo! You guys have probably seen me talk a little bit about these crypto stocks of late, and we're starting to get paid. So, IBIT, I was long at 17 and 23. Kevin remembers I bought that little candle there thinking that was the big move. Turns out the big move was about a month later. But nonetheless, been a fan of this guy, and you can see nice big pop up top. Got orders working to sell halves on doubles, so, none of this should be a surprise to any of you. And then, of course, this other one, Netcoins, I've talked to you guys about this recently, long from 15. So actually, both of these, I could very easily get doubles off in a market that the S&Ps are just doing nothing. Ironically enough, if we look at the broader market, it's just sort of like Snoresville. Actually, this little pharma stock, man, what a beautiful, look at that beautiful chart. But anyway, I won't talk to you guys about that today. But like I said, what I noticed is really the moving part of the market that's really got my attention right now. Netcoins, that's a crypto-related stock. 85% move on the day. Now, that's what I'm talking about. IBIT, 8.5 cents, 30 cents, 39% move on the day. IMIN, actually, this is interesting. Edie, his stock was popping up here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get up into like 10, 10.5, but he's having a pretty good market here. And, of course, he's an Ethereum miner, so what a surprise they're rallying. So now that's what I'm doing in the stock market, having a lot of fun. Crypto itself, spent lots of time in broiler chickens yesterday talking about Bitcoin. Interesting how we came up basically, what's the high on this guy? 10,178, 10,199. That was 50% level here, 10,197. Ding, 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 ding. So, I mean, what a great analogy of a trader's life. Everybody on YouTube watched, literally, we mapped this out day after day, just left this right on the screen, and you literally watched a, 2.34 risk-reward trade go from start to finish. See how easy it is? Ironically enough, the secret isn't really that much of a secret. It's just doing it. That's the hard part. So, trade, it's a beautiful analogy of W's, 50% rule, make damn sure it's 2-1, live with the results. You don't know what's going to happen. There you go. Merry Christmas. I've been talking to a lot of people recently about upcoming auctions. I know there's somebody on the site who's like, Brian, don't make too big of a deal of this, but I think it is a deal. So I'm just going to sort of stick to my guns here. I do like this idea of market symmetry. Now, you can clearly see we didn't price exactly the same way. But I do like this thinking of if this is some sort of massive fractal pattern, how is this going to look? I also noticed, too, internally, we haven't broken down here momentum-wise. RSI, there's no M's working here. There certainly isn't two M's working here. So it's certainly nowhere near a short. Keep in mind, this is a daily chart. But you can see the MACD histogram is starting to M out here. This is looking a little troublesome, considering we are moving to new highs. So, MACD has not confirmed that divergence. When these M's actually do print, then we know that divergence is confirmed, and we can start hunting structure. So what I'm thinking here, and remember there's that 18th day just sort of floating out there, that auction. Ironically enough, I actually do still expect some sort of crazy blow off top into that kind of event. So I'm still thinking like this. I wouldn't mind actually a nice little consolidation, then a push higher to actually force things like volume impetus to actually flash sell signals and top out, RSI studies to flash sell signals and top out. But what I will say is there's early warning signs that, hey, momentum is starting to get a bit suspicious here. As well, too, another early warning sign, not a sell signal unto itself, but it is definitely a warning sign, is Willie is officially stupid. So we need to understand, this is why I built Willie. It's supposed to tell me when markets are nearing the ends of moves. They're not really very smart to be a buyer here. So this is potential. We gotta wait for it to confirm. Willie is stupid. We're not really getting any volume sells, and of course we don't have price action to suggest a sell just yet. What I think's happened here is ding, 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 ding. We hit that 50% level, and a hell of a lot of smart traders rung the register and paid themselves for their hard work. That's what I think was going on here. Very late to be a buyer, and of course anybody who FOMOs buys, they get beat up through these kind of moves here. So not really necessarily a sell signal here, but at the same time too, if anything, this was you shouldn't look at this and be surprised if you hear somebody say, woo, I just booked a 2.5, 3 to 1 of buying the W's, buying the bottoms, selling at the 50% rule. Look at me, I'm an awesome trader. That's what I think is going on here today. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Finish off. There are still some really cool little altcoin ideas. Of course, I bought this fun little one down here. Really good analogy of reload zones within reload zones. Super sexy. And then, oh my God, just sexalicious little inverted empire. And what's cool to see is, I guess as Bitcoin's topping out, people are like, you know what, maybe I'll go and pick up some of this Stratus. Or maybe they're just like, look, we think the value of Stratus is this. If Bitcoin's topping out, maybe we'll have to bid this thing up just to make sure that it stays a certain level. Who knows? But all I care is this is show me a new high, and I'll show you a buy. And just to freak you out, I'm kind of thinking that my short-term profit objective is off this chart. Let's see where it is. Oh, there it is. 6,842 sats. So let's see what happens. That'll be a fun experiment to watch. I think I've told you guys recently, I'm not really going to be turning too bearish of alts until I actually start seeing this thing M out. M. So we have a pretty good little proxy here. We potentially got a little bit of failed. You can see how this guy had to pull back into reload zones. But we don't have an M just yet. So I'm still pretty friendly to altcoin space. But of course, everybody knows, do not chase. Just don't do it, okay? All right. I think I got to go and make sure I have my netcoins and my interbit sell orders working. And maybe I ought to check if I have my Stratus sell orders working too. I've given you the pie in the sky target. Just for fun, let's see if this thing can ratchet its way up into there. But I'm liking the look of that Stratus. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.